Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue that's sending shockwaves through Port Charles, a revelation that no one expected, but one that will change everything. For months, Jason Morgan has been haunted by a quiet certainty that something was not right about Britt Westburn's death. Even though the world had moved on and accepted that she was gone, Jason could never shake the feeling that Britt was still alive. That feeling became obsession the moment he thought he saw her just for a few seconds at the Paris airport. That glimpse set off a chain of events that would unravel a deep web of deception, expose two of the most stunning fake deaths in Port Charles history, and challenge Jason's very understanding of love, loyalty, and loss. Jason had no proof, no leads, just instinct. And when you're Jason Morgan, instinct is more than enough to move mountains. He started quietly investigating Britt's supposed death again, re-examining reports, timelines, last known locations, and even Britt's known associates. When traditional channels came up empty, Jason turned to the one man who had always helped him uncover the truth no matter how deeply it was buried: Damian Spinelli. Spinelli, an elite hacker and longtime friend, didn't hesitate. Once Jason described the Paris airport sighting, Spinelli gained access to the airport's internal surveillance systems, bypassing encryption and using facial recognition software. His system scanned thousands of faces over several days. The search took hours of coding and data cross-referencing, but eventually, a result came back. A woman who matched Britt's face had entered the country under a false name. The photo was grainy but clear enough to reignite Jason's certainty. From there, Spinelli hacked into local housing records and located a townhouse registered to the alias, a name that had never existed before 2 years ago. Jason booked a flight within the hour. When Jason arrived at the address, a modest townhouse nestled in a quiet residential area of Paris, he felt a familiar tension in his chest. The windows were shuttered. The gate was locked. The neighborhood was still. He knocked. No answer. He waited, watching the shadows behind the curtains, listening for any sound of life. Nothing. His gut told him Britt had been there, but the silence felt deliberate, like someone had just left, or like they were hiding. Jason made a choice. He picked the lock and stepped inside, determined to uncover the truth. The house was well maintained, lived in. It had the look of someone who had made a home there, someone organized and careful. Jason walked through the foyer into a living room filled with muted sunlight from cracked blinds. It was there on the mantel, on the bookshelves, and framed along the walls that Jason's world shifted. There were dozens of photographs, photos of Britt alive, smiling, laughing. But she wasn't alone. She was with Morgan Corinthos. Jason felt as if the air had left the room. There they were, Britt and Morgan, arm in arm on a city street, sitting together on a couch, dining at a cafe. In one photo, Morgan was kissing Britt's forehead. In another, they were holding hands in front of a Christmas tree. These were not two people who had recently met. These were two people deeply connected, clearly living a life together. The timeline didn't make sense. Morgan had faked his death back in 2016 after a car explosion. Britt had only been gone for 2 years. And yet here they were, frozen in moments that told a deeper, untold story. Jason staggered back, looking at the photos one by one, hoping for context. Were they photoshopped? Fabricated? No, they were real. Time-stamped prints, casually placed, not intended for discovery by anyone outside their private world. Jason couldn't believe what he was seeing. Morgan, Sonny, and Carly's son had been presumed dead for nearly a decade. Britt had supposedly died in Port Charles, the victim of violence, remembered with a public funeral and mourned by those who loved her. Now Jason stood in a house that exposed it all as a lie. A carefully constructed, deeply buried lie. But why? Jason searched the rest of the house. He found travel receipts: Geneva, Berlin, London, and most recently, Lisbon. He found a journal written in Britt's handwriting with scattered entries that hinted at life on the run. He found medication vials labeled under different aliases, There was even a birth certificate tucked away in a drawer, but no name on it. Just a hospital logo from Germany and a date, roughly 3 years ago. Jason didn't know what it meant yet, but he took a photo for reference. He called Spinelli again. "I found them," he said. "Both of them. Morgan and Britt. They're alive. I don't know why, but they are." Spinelli was speechless for a full minute before promising to dig deeper. Jason instructed him to check bank transactions, flight logs, anything that could trace where they might have gone next. The townhouse was too clean, too organized. It looked like someone had left it in a hurry. Jason suspected they knew they'd been spotted at the airport. They were running again. But the biggest question wasn't just how they survived, it was why they left. Why would Morgan disappear in 2016 and never contact Sunny, Carly, or Michael? Why would Britt vanish in the middle of rebuilding her life, fake her death, and disappear with Morgan? How did they find each other? Were they on a WSB mission? Were they escaping threats from someone in Port Charles? As Jason stood alone in the empty home, he remembered Britt's warmth, her sarcasm, her deep loyalty. He remembered how she stood by him when others didn't. And he remembered Morgan's restless energy, his fight to prove himself to Sunny, his tragic end that tore Carly apart. Till now both had chosen to vanish. To let their loved ones believe they were dead, it was betrayal, yes. But it also had to be about survival. Jason now faces a choice. He can go back to Port Charles and reveal the truth. Or he can continue the hunt alone and wait until he has Britt and Morgan face to face. He chooses the latter. He knows this is bigger than him. Something about the way everything was staged, the hidden documents, the alternate identities, tells him this is not just a romantic elopement. It's a conspiracy. One that likely involves the WSB or a darker force entirely. Meanwhile, back in Port Charles, no one knows what Jason has discovered. Carly is still mourning Morgan. Liesl still insists Britt is gone. Sunny continues to carry the guilt of losing a son he couldn't protect. If Jason returns with proof, the emotional damage could be catastrophic. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Britt and Morgan's lives have been kept in the shadows for years. That time is coming to an end. Jason has made it his mission to uncover every layer of their deception, not for vengeance, but for clarity. Port Charles deserves to know who they lost and why they never came back. Next, we will dive deep into the explosive drama surrounding Willow Tate's shattered engagement to Drew Kane, sparked by his shocking affair with her own mother, Nina Reeves, and the desperate measures Drew might take to reclaim what he's lost. In the bustling world of Port Charles, where secrets simmer just beneath the surface, Willow Tate has made the heart-wrenching decision to cancel her wedding to Drew Kane. The revelation of Drew's illicit romance with Nina Reeves, Willow's biological mother, hit like a thunderbolt, unraveling the fragile trust between the couple. This betrayal isn't just a personal slight. It echoes through Willow's already complicated family dynamics, reminding her of past pains like her leukemia battle and the custody fights over her children. Sources close to the storyline suggest that Willow, known for her resilience and moral compass, felt utterly blindsided, leading her to call off the nuptials in a moment of raw emotion. As the dust settles, Drew finds himself isolated, his political ambitions in Washington, D.C., now overshadowed by this personal catastrophe. Fans speculate that this could force Drew to confront his impulsive nature, perhaps drawing parallels to his brother Jason Morgan's own history of tangled relationships. With Willow retreating to the support of her husband Michael Corinthwaite, ex-husband, in this tangled web, the stage is set for a confrontation that could redefine alliances in Port Charles. Drew Kane, ever the determined operator with a military background that honed his strategic mind, isn't one to accept defeat lightly. In the wake of the affair's exposure, he's portrayed as a man on the edge, desperately clinging to the idea of reconciliation. Picture Drew showing up at Willow's doorstep, his usually composed demeanor cracked by vulnerability, as he pours out apologies laced with promises of change. He might reference their shared moments of joy, like quiet evenings planning their future or supporting each other through crises, insisting that their bond is strong enough to weather this storm. Drew could even invoke his own past traumas, such as his time imprisoned abroad or his identity struggles post-resurrection, to appeal to Willow's empathetic side. Yet, this plea isn't just emotional, it's a calculated move from a character who's proven he can pivot from charm to cunning. Spoilers hint that Drew's obsession might border on unhealthy, with him tracking Willow's movements or enlisting allies like his uncle Curtis Ashford for advice on winning her back. Despite these efforts, Willow stands firm, her resolve forged in the fires of betrayal, making it clear that forgiveness isn't on the table. Willow Tate, embodying quiet strength amid chaos, delivers a resounding rejection to Drew's overtures, emphasizing the irreparable damage he's caused. In a tense scene imagined in the spoilers, she confronts him directly, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the hurt of a daughter betrayed by her mother's actions as much as Drew's. Willow might recount how this affair has poisoned her relationship with Nina, forcing her to rebuild walls she thought were crumbling, and how it jeopardized the stability she's fought for with her children, Amelia and Wiley. She could draw on her nursing background, likening Drew's betrayal to a wound that festers rather than heals, insisting there's no path forward together, urging him to relocate to DC. Permanently, Willow paints a picture of a fresh start for both, free from the shadows of Port Charles drama. This advice isn't born of malice but self-preservation, as Willow prioritizes her mental health and family unit, perhaps confiding in close friends like Christina Corinthos Davis for support. However, Drew's refusal to back down hints at darker intentions, setting up a pivot from persuasion to something more coercive. Realizing that heartfelt pleas won't sway Willow, Drew Kane shifts gears into a more sinister strategy, leveraging a bombshell secret he's uncovered about her past actions. It turns out Drew has pieced together evidence that Willow was the shadowy figure behind the gaslighting of Sasha Corbin, a plot that drove Sasha and her infant out of Port Charles in a haze of paranoia and fear. This revelation adds layers to Willow's character, portraying her not just as a victim, but as someone capable of manipulation when perhaps a nod to her upbringing in the dawn of day cult or her protective instincts gone awry. Drew, with his investigative skills sharpened by years in the shadows, might have obtained this intel through discreet inquiries or overheard conversations at the Quartermain mansion. In hatching this plan, he weighs the ethics of blackmail against his desire, rationalizing it as a necessary evil to preserve what he sees as their destined union. Spoilers suggest he could consult with a confidant like Sam McCall, though she'd likely advise against it, highlighting Drew's growing isolation. Determined, Drew vows to use this leverage, transforming from a jilted lover into a formidable adversary who won't relent until Willow bends to his will. The confrontation escalates when Drew corners Willow, refusing to heed her demands to leave her alone. In this high-stakes encounter, he extends one final olive branch, his tone a mix of desperation and menace, urging her to reconsider for the sake of their shared history and potential future. Willow, unflinching, rebuffs him once more, her words sharp as she accuses him of further destroying her world. That's when Drew drops the hammer, revealing his knowledge of her role in Sasha's torment. He describes in detail how Willow's anonymous messages and planted doubts pushed Sasha to the brink, forcing her to flee with her child to protect them from perceived threats. Willow's shock is palpable. She denies it vehemently, perhaps claiming it was a misunderstanding or someone else's doing, but Drew counters with irrefutable proof, like timestamps or witness accounts he's fabricated or genuinely acquired. To twist the knife, he warns that exposing this to Michael Corinthos would shatter her family life, as Michael, with his powerful resources and protective streak, might pursue full custody, barring Willow from her kids. This threat preys on Willow's deepest fears, rooted in her history of loss and separation, leaving her cornered and furious. Faced with no viable escape, Willow Tate reluctantly succumbs to Drew's blackmail, agreeing to rekindle their relationship and even move back in with him under duress. This coerced reunion paints a grim picture of power imbalances in Port Charles romances, with Willow navigating a facade of normalcy while plotting her own countermeasures, seeking help from allies like Carly Spencer, who knows a thing or two about fighting back against manipulation. The arrangement could lead to tense domestic scenes where Willow's resentment simmers, Andrew's triumph feels hollow, haunted by the knowledge that their bond is built on coercion rather than love. Spoilers tease ripple effects, such as Nina's guilt intensifying or Michael growing suspicious of Willow's sudden change of heart, potentially unraveling the whole scheme. In the end, this storyline explores themes of redemption, revenge, and the blurred lines between love and control, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats. Next, we will explore the heartfelt farewell from Sophia Matson as she steps away from her role as Sasha Corbin, while leaving the door ajar for an exciting potential comeback that could shake up Port Charles once more. In the ever-evolving tapestry of daytime drama that is ABC General Hospital, actress Sophia Matson has taken to social media to confirm her temporary exit from the show, blending bittersweet emotions with a promise of future adventures. On a Tuesday that caught many fans off guard, Matson, beloved for her nuanced portrayal of the resilient Sasha Corbin, shared an Instagram post that radiated appreciation for her time on the series. She described General Hospital as her second home over the years, emphasizing the profound impact of the role on her career and personal growth. Matson expressed immense luck in basking in the unwavering love from the GH community, whom she hailed as the best supporters a performer could ask for. This announcement comes amid a wave of cast changes in recent seasons, reminiscent of past departures that have kept viewers guessing. Like those of iconic characters who've returned with fresh storylines, inventing a layer of intrigue, insiders speculate that Matson's break aligns with her pursuit of diverse roles, perhaps in indie films or streaming series that showcase her versatility beyond the soap opera format. Her message hints at Sasha's need for respite from Port Charles' relentless turmoil, mirroring real-life actors' desires for creative exploration, and sets the stage for what could be a triumphant return filled with unresolved tensions. Accompanying her touching words, Matson curated a carousel of images that captured the essence of her journey on the show, from behind-the-scenes moments to cherished on-set bonds. One standout photo placed her squarely in the iconic ABC General Hospital studio, a space buzzing with the energy of daily productions and impromptu script reads. She included snapshots with esteemed co-stars such as the legendary Morgan Fairchild, whose maternal gravitas added depth to their scenes, and Josh Kelly, whose chemistry with Matson brought sizzling dynamics to Sasha's romantic arcs. Heartwarming shots featured her alongside on-screen mother Emma Sands, evoking the complex family ties that define Sasha's evolution from model to mother. Other images highlighted connections with Steve Burton, whose Jason Morgan character crossed paths with Sasha in high-stakes mob-related plots, and Rory Gibson, capturing the tenderness of their shared family narratives. A particularly tender frame showed Matson with baby Daisy, the on-screen infant symbolizing Sasha's protective instincts amid chaos. Additional photos included Cynthia Watros, whose Nina Reeves often clashed with Sasha in explosive confrontations, Kathleen Gotti as the enigmatic Liesl Obrecht, and Caitlin McMullen, portraying Willow Tate in storylines intertwined with themes of betrayal and redemption. To add an inventive twist, imagine these photos subtly nodding to Naird bloopers or off-camera laughs that fostered lifelong friendships, underscoring how General Hospital isn't just a job, but a familial network for its cast. The post's emotional pinnacle arrived with its final image, a radiant, smiling exchange between Matson and the late Johnny Wachter, who brought Brando Corbin to life as Sasha's devoted husband. This poignant tribute stirred waves of sentiment among fans, many of whom flooded the comments with reflections on Wachter's tragic passing in May 2024, when he was fatally shot in a senseless act of violence. Viewers described the photo as moving and poignant, a visual echo of the genuine affection that fueled their on-screen romance, which navigated addiction, loss, and ultimate heartbreak. Inventing new elements to enrich this narrative, one could envision this image inspiring fan-led memorials or even a special episode flashback honoring Wachter's contributions, perhaps weaving in unseen footage that highlights Brando's heroic qualities. Matson's choice to include it speaks volumes about her respect for her co-star's legacy, reminding the audience of the real human stories behind the fictional drama. This element has sparked discussions on how General Hospital might address Brando's absence in future arcs, potentially through Sasha's lingering grief or dream sequences that offer closure. The outpouring of support from Matsson's co-stars was swift and sincere, turning her Instagram into a virtual reunion of Port Charles talent. Caitlin McMullen, who shares intense scenes with Sasha as Willow, praised her as beyond beautiful, talented, and genuine, adding a personal love you that hinted at off-screen sisterhood. Jacqueline Grace Lopez chimed in with excitement for Matsson's next chapter, congratulating her on past achievements with a flurry of celebratory emojis, perhaps alluding to shared auditions or industry tips they've exchanged. Rory Gibson honored their on-screen family with simple yet meaningful heart and daisy emojis, a nod to baby Daisy's role in grounding Sasha's character amid turmoil. William Devery expressed sadness over her departure, calling her run great and predicting the show would miss her spark, drawing from his own experience as a former DH alum. Tanisha Harper shared she missed Matsson's beautiful face in the hallways but is confident in her big screen future, injecting optimism into the farewell. Brianna Lane kept it concise with a string of red hearts, symbolizing the enduring bonds formed on set. To invent fresh details, picture these comments sparking collaborative projects among the cast, like a charity event in Wachter's memory or a podcast where they reminisce about memorable storylines, further cementing General Hospital's role as a launchpad for lasting connections. On the storyline front, Sasha Corbin's exit from Port Charles unfolded in early July, as she whisked baby Daisy away to the safety of France, reuniting with her parents, Holly and Robert Scorpio. This dramatic departure stemmed from Sasha's determination to shield her daughter from shadowy threats lurking in the Quartermain mansion, including anonymous harassments that eroded her sense of security. Unbeknownst to Sasha, the true architect of this gaslighting was Willow Tate, whose actions added a layer of irony to their intertwined fates. A touching highlight was Sasha introducing her father Robert to baby Daisy, a scene brimming with generational warmth that contrasted the surrounding peril. Inventing new elements, one might expand this to include imagined flashbacks of Robert sharing Scorpio family lore with Daisy, or Holly imparting survival wisdom drawn from her adventurous past, enriching Sasha's off-screen life. This move not only protects Daisy but allows Sasha a breather from the soap's signature high drama, including corporate intrigues and personal vendettas that have defined her arc since her introduction as a troubled model battling addiction. Looking ahead, the narrative leaves ample room for Sasha and Daisy's return, particularly once the truth about Willow's gaslighting comes to light, potentially igniting confrontations with Michael Corinthos and reshaping family alliances. However, looming threats like the escalating mob war between Sonny Corinthos and the formidable Jens Sidwell cast a shadow over any hasty comeback, endangering Michael and his loved ones, including peripheral ties to Sasha. This conflict, rooted in power struggles and betrayals, could force Sasha to extend her European sojourn, granting her parents extended quality time with their granddaughter amid picturesque French locales. Inventing speculative twists, envision Sasha discovering hidden Scorpio family secrets during her stay, or even crossing paths with international characters that tie back to Port Charles, setting up crossover episodes. Ultimately, Matsson's open-ended farewell fuels hope that Sasha's journey will circle back, blending rest with readiness for more riveting tales. What do you think? Will Sophia Matsson bring Sasha back sooner than expected, armed with revelations about Willow's schemes? Could the mob war delay her return, or might it draw her into the fray? And how poignant was that tribute to Johnny Wactordo you see it influencing future storylines? Share your predictions in the comments below.